Lionel, is that you?
There, I think I got it.
Face for radio.
Yeah, it's a face for radio. All right. So I've pushed the big button on the wall. We have a gigantic button on the wall that we push when we want to start recording. And right now I'm sitting here with Shane Wilson. And today is 10 a.m. on Friday. What's the date today? July 30th or something?
July 20, or no.
July 30th.
July 30th.
Yeah, 10 a.m., July 30th. And at the same time that you're listening to this, Shane is also at the St. Louis RPM meet, making a big ScaleTrains announcement. It's amazing how you can be in two places at the same time.
I know, it's magical.
It is. It's magical. It's the new world we live in. It's magical. So, what is it with you and big announcements? So you're always making a big announcement.
Well, when we first started our company and Mike and I were working on the first business plan, I challenged Mike and I continue to challenge all of us that we want to be different, but not for the sake of just being different, but to push our industry and our company to new levels. So we're always seeing what we can do that's fresh and exciting. And today we've got another one of those things. And this one's pretty unique. It's never been done before in our industry.
Okay. Well, and you and I have a bit of a history, and we might as well clear this up going forward. When you announced the company in Milwaukee, well, first off, when I first met you, we went to dinner together. Then you told me you were leaving Athern, but you wouldn't tell me what you were doing.
Yep.
And then from there, I met you. Then you were into Train Fest, and you made a big announcement. And some people got to go behind the curtain, but I never got to go behind the curtain in Milwaukee. Oh. And that's still what happened there? Was it just an oversight?
Well, back then we didn't know each other that well. And, I didn't realize the ginormous influence that Lionel Strang would have on the entire industry with the Modeler's Life podcast. And so I fell a little short back then. But, hopefully we made up for it when we invited you down for the train ride. You got to hang out with us for the day there before the SER convention.
That was cool. That was very cool. It's very exciting to be part of that. And now I'm getting to be part of something else that ScaleTrains is doing, because you are about what you're announcing right now is pretty cool. It's pretty original, pretty different, pretty exciting. How should we describe this? It's not a new model that's being released. It's not a new freight car.
Nope.
You're not buying another company.
Not yet.
So how would we? What are you calling this event? What are you in St. Louis? What are you telling everybody? What's going to be your opening line?
So what we're saying is we're announcing what we're calling the road trip, and the road trip actually has been in the works now for well over a year and a half, and it's one of those things. Lionel, we want people to know that we're real people. We're not some nameless, faceless company that you can't connect with. And one of the things that we did a lot of, and we continue to do, haven't done much over the last year, of course, with what's happening in the world, but we love to do what we call meet and greets. And that's where we go to the local club when we're in town, and the club lets us come in and we set up a display, and they invite other clubs that might be in the area and the general public, and we share our story, how we got started, because it's an interesting story. You and I have talked about that many times. And we share how model trains are made, and we answer any question that anybody's ever wanted to ask, from how much does it cost to make XYZ to how many do you sell to, why do you make trains in China? I'll answer any question for anybody, as long as we're not giving away any trade secrets. And then we go and we play trains, and it's a lot of fun, and it's a great way to make those personal connections. The thing is, because it's pretty expensive, as you know, to travel, and so you can't really just go out and come back and do those kind of things. And so we were wondering, how can we get out there and visit with folks in places that we normally wouldn't go? There's just parts of the country that will probably never host a national level event. And so we started talking, and we came up with this idea, and And we've been working on our infrastructure for the last year to be able to do this. And we're going to hit the road. And we purchased a big old pickup truck and a fifth wheel RV, and we're having those both wrapped and with the road trip logo and our colors. And we're going to hit the road for the next 2 years. And we brought on partners like yourself and a Modeler's Life who are really going to help us tell the story and get out there. And it's way more than just doing meet and greets and visiting local clubs and sharing our favorite hobby and getting to know people. It's evolved a lot over the last year. And as it's evolved, we're going to make sure that we get out and we're going to see all 50 states. It's going to be hard to drive the RV to Hawaii, but we'll figure out a way to get there. And also, too, for our friends like yourself, Lionel, north of the border, we're working on we have to meet DOT regulations, and we'll have to meet Canadian DOT if we cross the border. So we're trying to figure that out. But if we can get that piece nailed down, we'll actually do some dates in Canada as well. And not just with clubs. Our plan, we've actually just this morning have worked out where we'll be at the Tennessee Valley Railway Museum for their 60th anniversary celebration later this year. So we'll do some real railroad museums and events. We're also we're not quite ready to announce yet, but there's probably a railroad festival that we're going to go to this fall. That's not at a museum. It's actually hosted by a city, and we'll be doing some of those. We plan to get out there also and do some shows that we wouldn't normally do, and plan to have a lot of fun. One of the other things we're doing is we've contacted some local municipalities that have big rail fan hotspots, and we'll host day-long events there where we'll watch trains together, and we'll set up the display outside the RV and just hang out, maybe cook some burgers and some barbecue or something and enjoy each other's company and watch trains go by. And we're planning on having a lot of special guests. Lionel, you're always welcome. There's going to be a lot of folks that who are going to be a part of this road trip over the next 2 years or so. And it's a great chance to really get out there and meet folks where they are. And we're super excited about it. I think probably too, Lionel, one thing I think that's really neat, when does all this get started? So we're announcing the road trip today, and we're getting our first dates. Our first date is going to be Saturday, August the 28th in a very small town. We're going to be going and visiting with the Danville Junction chapter in Rossville, Illinois. And Rossville's just a small town, but it's where I got my start with my first model railroad club. And so I'm going back to my roots and thought it would be the perfect place to kick off the tour. They've got an awesome depot there in Rossville with lots of awesome artifacts, great artifacts. And there's a big railroad, so we'll be able to run trains. And we'll set the RV up on the lawn and put all the models out for display and meet folks for the day. And that'll be the first date. So then we'll be out on the road then for probably about 2 weeks. And we're looking to fill up some holes in the schedule that'll be in that time frame in the probably Central Illinois, Southern Illinois, Missouri, or Indiana. And then a little later this year, we'll get out. We'll probably be in North Carolina for a bit. And then a big trip coming up in October, November. We'll head to California. And we'll be out about 4 or 5 weeks there and doing a lot of stops, going out and coming back. And then we'll take a break for the holiday season and then get back out next year. A ton of plans next year. We'll be out in the Florida and Gulf states. We'll be in the Mid-Atlantic states. We'll be in the upper Midwest, Pacific Northwest. Spend the fall in the Northeast, kind of come with the fall colors, and then on into 23. But we will make sure that we get to all the states, and hopefully we'll be able to work out some dates in Canada as well.
So how did you come up with such an idea? So what's this town that you're going to that's having a special day, you said?
Are you talking about the one in Rossville, or are you talking about
right at the start of this, telling me about it, you said you were going to some town that isn't necessarily a railroad town, but it's
Yeah, so we're not ready to announce this one yet. We're just finalizing the details, but there is one event in the fall that has a big railroad festival.
Okay.
And I think, and we're probably going to partner with Virtual Railfan on that one and be there with them at that event. So, but still working on the details. We got to make sure we can make the calendar work out.
Oh, okay. And now, what do you got? A big calendar on the wall or something with? Is this kind of like that Lucille Ball movie, Long Trailer?
It's funny, when I first presented the idea to the other owners, that was the first thing they said. That's a funny movie, but yeah, kind of that idea, right? I mean, the whole idea, it's kind of crazy. This idea has been brewing. I've actually had this idea forever. If you remember the band back, I think they were the 80s, George Thorogood and the Destroyers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't know if you know their story. It's pretty unique. and this is actually what I wanted to do in the beginning, but I thought it was going to be way too much. They got their record contract because they did all 50 states in 50 days. And the record company said, if you'll play 50 concerts in all 50 states and drive to them all except Hawaii and Alaska, you can have a record deal. And I thought, man, that's the coolest story ever. And we wanted to do 50 states in 50 weeks, but as we looked at that schedule, the business has to go on. It's still got to run the business, and that was just way too aggressive. So, but that's kind of where the idea came from, and then it evolved.
Yeah, 50 states in 50 weeks would be a grind. It would take the fun out of it.
Yeah, and that was what we were worried about too, because we are subject to DOT regulations, and so we've got to come off the road at specific periods of time. And Michelle and I will take some time, and we'd love to go out west, and we'll make some time to stop in places like Yellowstone. That's probably one of my favorite places in the world, and she's a wildlife photographer, so it's a great way for her to capture the grizzly bears and take a break, and we'll do some fun stuff along the way too.
So when you're like, so is this pretty much anybody can apply? Like if a railroad club hears this, they can apply and ask you to come to their place?
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So for folks who want more information, you can go to our website, which is scaletrains.com, and right on the homepage there's a logo that says Road Trip. You click on that and it'll give you all the information, or it's pretty simply scaletrains.com/road trip. And on that page is a lot of information, and it's kind of growing. We have very few dates right now because we want to be flexible. We've got clubs we know we want to go to, but we're certain that there's clubs out there that have a lot of members and are very active in their communities that we're just not aware of. And so there's a form there, and your club can go and fill out that form and tell us about the club, just general information and who to contact. And we'll definitely save that form. And as we look at different areas of the country, we'll reach out and let you know when we're going to be in your neck of the woods and see if we can work out a time to come and visit. And then we'll also, in the near future, we'll have something put up where if you've got an event you'd like us to come to, whether you're a full-scale railroad museum, whether your town hosts a full, like Fullerton does something they call Railroad Days out in California, things like that, as well as just opportunities to meet folks. And there on that page you'll see the schedule. Of course, it'll start to grow when we have special guests. We'll note those special guests. And one thing I should mention too is we have a lot of awesome partners in this opportunity. And we've got folks, will be one of the things we've talked about, Lionel, with A Modeler's Life is we'll give an update from the road once a month and what the experiences to be. We expect this to be one heck of an adventure. I'm sure there'll be crazy stories from the road. And so we'll be doing that. And then we partnered with folks like White River Productions with Railroad Model Craftsman, Model Railroad News, Railfan and Railroad will be in the magazine each month with a half a page. And then, we've got folks, we've reached out to Virtual Railfan will be a part of this. We'll be stopping at a lot of their cameras along the way, and we'll be doing some events with them. We're working with social media influencers like James Wright, better known as JLW 2000. He's got a really strong HO presence. For the N-Scalers, we're working with Ron's Trains and Things. We've also partnered with Trainshow.com. Trainshow.com, of course, is world's greatest hobby and the Great American Train Shows and Greenberg and that whole series. So we'll be doing some dates with them. And then we'll have special guests. James is going to get out on the road with us. I know we'll have some, when we get out on our California swing, some of our team will be there that wouldn't normally be out and about. We're looking at some really good modelers. I know Ron from Ron's Trains and Things says he wants to catch up with us when we're out his direction. When we're out towards San Francisco, Harry Wong wants to pick up a few dates up in New York, Otto Van Drake. And I'm sure there'll be a lot more that you can come and meet and visit with and meet folks that maybe you normally wouldn't get a chance to see.
That's a good idea, right? Give people a chance to. So what is it about you and your love of the hobby? That's part of this podcast has become this kind of never-ending quest to understand the hobby and what it is that draws people to it. I mean, this sounds like it's a combination of you and your wife were kind of talking about always doing a trip like this. Your love of ScaleTrains, where nobody works the room better than you when you're at a train show. And also it comes out that it's just your general love of the hobby. So what is it about What is it about the hobby that makes you so want so much to connect with as many people as possible?
Well, that's a great question, and this really leads back to a partner that I missed on my list there, and that's the NMRA. And we've been working with Gordy Robinson, talking a lot about families and how to get families. And if you've ever heard my story, my personal story of the hobby, and one of the reasons the key reason that we're going to the Danville Junction chapter in Rossville, my dad passed away when I was 13, and my mom, I'd always had a love for railroads. My dad worked for the railroad, didn't really like to talk about it much. He was when I was a kid, he was a barber, long left his railroad career, but that bug bit me as a little kid, and probably got my first train set when I was 4 or 5 years old. Had a marked set, moved into HO, and and after my dad passed, my mom really wanted to keep me in the hobby. She was so worried that as a teenager, I might go down that wrong path. And she found this club, and there's a gentleman who's the late Stan Chaussee, who was an interurban modeler. He actually modeled the Illinois terminal and scratch built everything. And he invited me up to the museum. And it happened to be the CNI Historical Society's weekend. And he told me that I couldn't go to the CNI meeting, but I could hang out with him in the model railroad room and run trains. And oh man, it was so cool. This railroad's in the baggage room, and back, of course, of those days it was DC, and he would let me run his trolleys, and I was running the big railroad, and I was hooked. And the the club met the third Thursday of the month at the local fire station, and another gentleman named by the name of Larry Prosser every month made sure he picked me up until I had a driver's license, and he would take me to the club meeting, and they'd have their business meeting, and then afterwards we'd see a slideshow, and the guys would travel all over the country and share what they'd done, and then there were so many folks, and I know I'm going to miss some names, but folks like Rick Schroeder, who's coordinating the event here, he had a great railroad in his basement, and things like Dave Sherrill and Doug Nipper and the late Jess Bennett. So many of those guys poured into my life as a teenager. And in fact, the signals out in front of our business are actually from this depot. They're actually CNI signals. And, they took me on trips. If you remember like 611 when it ran back in the 80s, we chased 611. We got to be on the tail car and help take tickets one trip and a couple of trips actually. And anything that had to do with trains in Central Illinois, those guys just made sure I got to, whether it was full scale. We did back then we used to do a train show every year. And I didn't realize how big it was, but we would get 8,000 people through in a weekend in Danville, Illinois. And that was actually a big show. And we'd rent the Civic Center, and it was their influence. I don't believe that I would have ever had the opportunity to work for the parent company of Athearn, be a part of the Athearn and Roundhouse acquisitions, and lead a company of super talented people that love to make model trains. That's how ScaleTrains came together. And I feel like I owe the industry so much, and it's so important to give back, whether that be time, whether that be resources. And I see this opportunity as more than just promoting ScaleTrains. One of the things we've talked a lot about with Gordy at the NMRA is how can we share the NMRA and bring value so that we can help the membership there. And so we're going to be doing something with them along the road too. There's my dog in the background. So we're a family business. The four of us that own the company, Mike, Joe, Paul, and myself, and we live by the golden rule. This is right in the first page of our business plan: treat others as we'd like to be treated. And we just think that this is a great opportunity to meet people where they are and let them get to know us and grow our business and hopefully grow our favorite hobby.
Yeah, I mean, from what you and I have become, I think we could say we've become friends over the last half dozen years, and that's the sense that I get. I feel like you're the ultimate salesman. You're always out there trying to make ScaleTrains grow and everything. But I got a real sense that with this particular event, there's much more that you feel like you want to. Sure, when every stop you get to, you're going to pull out your stuff. You're going to put out your ScaleTrains thing. But everybody needs to know that's listening to this. Don't be afraid to walk up to Shane and talk to him about anything regarding railroading or model railroading or anything at all, because you're, as much as you love having your company and promoting ScaleTrains, you're a very much of a people person and you love to connect with others. So this is probably as much of a an opportunity to promote scale trains as it is to just live an experience of a lifetime.
Oh yeah, I mean, it, our dream, my wife and I, our dream has always been when we retired was to buy an RV and travel the country. And it's kind of like bringing two dreams together. It's an opportunity to share our company, our hobby. Actually, it's three dreams: our company, our hobby, and for us to be able to, maybe live some of that retirement a little bit early. Because as I tell her, I said, I don't think I'll ever retire. I don't want to be one of those guys that hangs up my hat and then 6 months later passes away. And I know there's so many people that love to work and enjoy working
Yeah.
that's happened to, and I don't want to be that guy.
No, I sense that you'll never really want to step away from it fully because it's something you really enjoy. I mean, it's something you enjoy. It's not just the fact that you started a company and you're selling scale trains. You enjoy the community as much as you enjoy the adventure. I think that would be a fair statement.
Yeah, and I think it's worth. I should mention too that I love our people. They're my family. We have such an incredibly talented team, and we've been so blessed. We have 19 folks that work for us now, and probably be adding some more positions here in the near future. And every one of them is important to me, not just as an employee of the company, but as someone that I genuinely care for. I want the best for them and their families. And I see this as an opportunity to continue to grow our business and ensure that their livelihood is secure and that we'll be able to take care of them for years to come.
What about that Bruce Underwood guy? He kind of seems like trouble.
I'll tell you what, Bruce is my right-hand guy here in Tennessee. I rely on him so much. He's in the throes right now. We talk more about this in the coming weeks, but he and I have been working, and mostly him, thank goodness, for the last over a year and a half on a brand new website. And we're in the final testing stages and making the last tweaks. And without Bruce taking the lead on that project, we would not be anywhere close to where we are on that today. And I certainly appreciate all he does for our business.
So, like, you say you're hiring more people? Like, is it my imagination, or is this just absolutely going bonkers? This hobby?
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak for us because I see our numbers and boy, when I tell you, Lionel, God has blessed us more than I could ever dream of. That's the understatement of a lifetime. The last year, folks have stayed home and sales have increased dramatically. That's one of the things, it's kind of interesting as sales grow and we didn't do any shows. That kind of helps you have the funding to be able to buy a truck and trailer, and because you didn't have all the show expenses and if you go into our warehouse right now, it is the lowest the inventory has probably ever been since our first shipment. And we've cranked up our orders, but it's like, when does it, you got to find that balance, because what happens if the tide turns? But boy, the hobby is really healthy right now. We as a company, and I don't say this to brag, so Lord, don't take this as pride. We turned that proverbial financial corner about a year and a half ago, and we're financially healthy. And it's not like, you have to worry about where's payroll going to be come Friday. And I think the hobby's super healthy. And I was pretty excited. I had a great conversation with Gordy, who just took over the NMRA presidency here recently, probably in the last month. And man, he's got big plans. He's sharing he was kind of give us some insights into the future and it's how we can support and bring new people into the hobby and make sure that this is still a family hobby, something that you can enjoy together and build skills and learn things along the way and meet great people.
Yeah, well, look at the AML Nation. It's just growing and growing and growing. And Gordy's got a great story too, like yours. His he went to a club. His father took him to a club. He wanted to go to this club, and some guys in there. He was like, young man, 10, 12 years old. I forget the age exactly. But, I mean, they welcomed him in, and it made such an impact on him that, he just has this unbridled love for the hobby and the community. And, I mean, there we got a guy now in charge of the NMRA, which, by the way, AML is taking some of the credit for helping getting him elected.
Well,
go ahead.
I think what you said there, if there was one thing I hope people who are listening to this today take away, so often, even back in the Athearn days, people would come up to us at a show or an event, and even today, and they say, what are you doing to bring young people into the hobby? And we hear all the complaints about pricing and those kind of things, and pricing is what it is. But I contend it's not assembling a shake the box kit. It's it's mentoring. It's taking that young person under your wing and teaching them the hobby and the fun of model railroading, full scale railroading, and developing and nurturing that love that's going to make a lifelong modeler. It's not a $9.99 boxcar kit.
No, exactly. You got to have somebody connecting to. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I personally believe there's a tsunami of people coming that, anyone from the age of 25 and under has had the availability of social media pretty much their entire life and never before. Can you imagine as a young 13-year-old guy that when you got involved with the club, if you'd had this social media and the ability to connect with others around the world, can you even imagine what your trip through the hobby would have been like to this point? It's like,
Oh, it'd be unbelievable because you go back to those days, there was no internet,
yeah,
and trying to get information was next to impossible. Couldn't at 13 you can't afford to buy books and barely had a model railroader subscription and craftsman subscription back then, and it was it was tough. And in a high school of 20 something hundred people, I was probably the only guy that liked model trains. I thought I was the only teenager in the world. And now you look at how social media connects, and it's so awesome that my son's a modeler and really good, much better than I'll ever be. And the connection that he has with people all over the world is unbelievable. And I think you hit something there that's huge. We see the demographic. The old demographic's always been 55 plus, married, two kids, house, uh, a strong income, kind of a professional type job, and we see that changing. I would be willing to bet that our average customer is probably in that 35 to 55 range, not in the 55 plus range. And we see that coming down even more as people are able to connect and find out there are other people that have the same interest in the world. I'm amazed. We go to real railroad events or rail fan events, and you have these late teens, early 20 something year olds that show up with expensive cameras and two-way radios, and they know every train that's coming and what's on that train and what's unique about it and everything. And boy, if we can harvest those people and bring them into the hobby, unbelievable the potential.
yeah. I think actually that's you just hit on something. We'll start wrapping this up because you got to get back to all the folks that are hanging around your booth. Um, is that Todd Arnett guy going to be there?
Todd is not in St. Louis, but Todd is definitely going to get out on the road with us when we go to North Carolina.
Yeah, keep an eye on him. He's you got to watch that guy.
He is a character.
Yeah.
He is going to be at the wedding, though, my daughter's wedding.
All right. Well, tell him Lionel said hi.
I will do that.
Tell him Lionel said I was supposed to go to the wedding, but I came the weekend before.
I've heard that story.
Yeah. So, okay, I think we just hit on something that we'll finish up with. First off, let's tell everybody. So our plan is when you contacted me and we had a meeting with you and Holly, and I got to send Holly. Is my logo, the Modeler's Life logo, going to be the biggest one on the trailer?
It will be ginormous.
Okay. So our plan is that every 4 or 5 weeks, you're going to take your headset and your laptop with you on the road, and we're going to make a point of doing like little half-hour shows, or even an hour, however we feel like talking, and you're going to kind of go over what's happened in the previous month or the previous trip that you've had. So that's going to be pretty exciting. It's going to be kind of neat. We'll have to Shane on the road or something like that. We'll call it ScaleTrains on the road. There you go.
Yep.
So did you buy a dually? Like a big Ford dually?
No, but we bought a big 350. Bought the trimmer package, which is their off-road package because it can tow much more, and it's a beast and a lot of fun to drive too. And then we bought a Grand Design fifth wheel that we can full time in, and so we can live in it. And we've got it set up so the entire trade show's in the basement, and we can set up 4 tables on the outside and put all the product out there. And one thing too that we haven't done that we'll start doing is we'll have a lot of giveaways, hat pins and ink pens, and we'll have T-shirts and hats and all that kind of stuff. So and there'll be goodie bags for everybody that comes, and we'll have things like from Modeler's Life and all of our other partners in the goodie bag. So a lot of things to give away too, and a lot of fun to be had.
I'll send you a bag full of buttons so you can have buttons to hand too.
Perfect.
So yeah, so that's our plan, and we're going to talk every 4 or 5 weeks and hear all about it, which I think is really cool because you're going to have stories of like you're going to be able to connect with tons and tons of people. I bet you every single time we do this, it's going to be you're going to have some fascinating story about some person you met or something you did along the way. It's really a cool idea. It's pretty exciting. I mean, have you ever been away from home by yourself?
Oh yeah, yeah. We used to go to the factory in China and
Yeah,
those
I
kind
know.
of things. But this will be. I mean, I've never gone
Well,
when
make
we go
su-
to California for 4 or 5 weeks. I've never been gone from home for more than a couple of weeks, so
make
that'll be
s-
interesting.
make sure you have your name and address pinned to your shirt in case you get lost.
In case I get lost,
Yeah.
we are taking one of our dogs with us too, so that'll be fun.
Well, how do you decide which dog gets to go?
Well, Bear is our dog, and then we have Maple, and Maple's our son's dog. So I don't know. It's probably going to be heartbreaking for the two pups, but
Yeah.
Bear's going to go with us. I don't think my wife could live without Bear for weeks on end. So
So okay, so when's the first time we're going to get together? When do we figure we should get together again?
I think we should probably get together after maybe like in later September. So we're probably 2 months out from the first one because then we'll have the first road trip, maybe even the second one under our belts, and we'll have a lot of stories to share.
Okay, you know what you and I should do? We should exchange cell numbers, and then you can text me, where I can stay in constant contact with you. Wouldn't that
That
be?
sounds like a plan. I'll
Yeah.
make sure it's on Do Not Disturb though at night.
Yeah. Um, this sounds very cool. I'm excited about this because people need to realize the chain is very approachable. So
Hmm.
if you're going to go to if you're going to keep checking on the ScaleTrains website to see the schedule, if they're coming anywhere near you, even within 100 miles of you, it'll be well worth the trouble to go out and see Shane. And he doesn't just want to talk about ScaleTrains; he's happy to talk about all sorts of things,
Hmm.
train related. And I think I highly recommend people make the effort to. It'll be kind of like the big boy traveling around the country. It only well, and I mean you're a big boy.
Thanks, Lionel. Appreciate that.
No, but it'll be like people going. That's what they should do. They should. I'm looking forward to tracking you down. Even if you get to northern New York State, to Rochester area, I would definitely come over and see you and just be part. Is there going to be like if I find you on the road, would there be any place for me to sleep in the trailer?
Yeah, there's a pull out bed in the back of the trailer.
Oh,
Absolutely.
oh, okay, cool. How long is this trailer?
It's 33 feet.
Have you driven it around yet, like pulling it?
We we purchased it actually. There's like everything right now. There's a shortage, and this particular trailer, we wanted to buy it local, but couldn't get it until the end of August. So we bought it in Tampa, Florida, and we drove it from Tampa back to Tennessee. And so far, it's been sitting because we're waiting on it to get wrapped right now. So it'll have big graphics on the side of the truck and the trailer. So it'll be real obvious when we're going down the road. You'll see the road trip logos and be able to spot us. It's a bright red truck and lots of red graphics on the trailer.
Oh, cool. And so, what was it like when you pulled out of the dealership with this trailer? This has got to be your first time hauling something this long. So, what was
Yeah.
that? What was that? What was the first hour like?
Well, we've had a bumper pull trailer for years. We back to even when our kids were little. But this was the first time I pulled a fifth wheel, and this is much bigger than our travel trailer that we had. And I'll tell you what, with a big trailer, you can't tow at high speeds. So I was kind of playing with the speeds of like 65 and 70, find out where the best fuel mileage is and shifting and all that kind of stuff. And when the speed limit's 70 and you're traveling 65 or 70, oh my goodness, you have to really get used to people blowing your doors off all the time.
People are going by you like you're standing still.
Oh, it's crazy.
But that's kind of the good pulling speed around 70.
I like 65 seemed to be where the truck really liked it. We got good fuel mileage and it didn't shift too much on the hills.
Oh, okay. All right. That sounds like fun. All right. Well, that's it. Let's not take up too much more of your time. This is it. Where it's the ScaleTrains on the road. I think that's what we'll go with. And the next time we hear from you, we'll plan on sometime in late September after your first big trip. And
Sounds like a great plan.
And we'll do this again. And And then I'll send you my cell number, and I can text you like, hey Shane, I'm going to the grocery store to get sausages, and you.
As long as you're cooking dinner for me too.
Are you you said that you're gonna have cookout, like you're gonna be cooking up burgers for folks and stuff?
I think at some of the day long events, I wouldn't be surprised if we put out a grill and
That's
just
good. Yeah,
and cook some burgers and dogs and and just enjoy each other's company.
that's a great. I think the day long events sound like a lot of fun. That would be,
I think it'd be a great time because we're watching trains, we're hanging out, we're looking at the model trains, and we're just getting to know each other.
where
I
is?
think that's
I'm sorry, I cut you off. That's rude.
no. Go ahead.
You think by now, after 6 or 7 years of doing this, I know when to shut up. Where is Train Wilson or Shane? Where is Shane Wilson's favorite train watching spot?
Oh, that's a great question. I have a couple. I love to go down to Dalton, Georgia. That's less than an hour from here, and I like to call that my mobile office. A lot of times, when I get behind on email, I'll go down there and spend the day and get caught up on email and shoot trains, and I love going there. Santa Fe Junction's a big one. I'll tell you what. If you're a Q39 barbecue and then dropping the tailgate on the trailer at Santa Fe Junction, love doing that. I like going up to Crescent, Pennsylvania, near Horseshoe Curve. Probably one of the other my big favorites, but the traffic is way down. I like to go to the Pokey up in Virginia and West Virginia on the old N&W. I mean, gosh, anywhere there's trains.
Yeah, I like the idea of day long events where people can they feel like they can come and sit and have a burger or a hot dog. I mean, that sounds like a great idea to me. I think you should seriously consider doing that more than once.
Oh, we will. Yeah, just bring a camp chair and hang out with us and watch trains and we'll just have a great time.
I'm definitely going to do that wherever you're going to do that. I'm definitely going to catch up one of these times.
Yeah, right. I don't. Those dates probably won't happen this year, but we'll have several next year because we have to work. We have to work with the local municipalities to get permission, and we're working with a couple already, so that they're okay with us coming out and having an event in their community. And they seem pretty excited. Right? They're seeing an opportunity to give exposure to their community and bring some folks to town.
Absolutely. I mean, I understand it won't happen till next year, but this is a 2.5 year event, so we're kicking off a huge event. So, yeah, I mean, there's going to be plenty of opportunity.
Absolutely.
You seem a little every time I say, "Hey, I'm going to come out and see you." You seem a little skittish every time I say that.
Well, you're a big guy.
All right, that's it. So because this is a standalone podcast, at the end of the podcast, you're required to say something. So we're going to give everybody out. This is on the free channel, so we'll give everybody out our email address, which is a modeler's life at a modeler's life at gmail.com. That's modelers with one L like Wilson, not two L's like Lionel. You can go to our website, amodelerslife.com. And it probably on the new website you'll be able to find a modeler's life on the ScaleTrains and just click on that, and that'll take you to the website.
Yep.
And I think that's pretty much it. I think we're ready to go. So
I was going to thank you for your time, Lionel, and really appreciate you being a partner with us on the road trip and your excitement, and look forward to catching up with you on a regular basis.
Oh, I think this is going to be a great idea. People are really going to enjoy, because you're going to have a ton of stories. So this can't possibly be anything but a winner, at least from the AML standpoint. So at the end, Shane, when I stop talking, it's going to be your opportunity. So you got to listen, and then I'm assuming everybody must know that you listen to every podcast and some of them twice. So
yeah, I certainly do.
There you go. All right, so get ready. So remember, a Modeler's Life podcast is considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10. See, that was your part.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You've heard it 1,000 times.
I have, and I've just you have those moments where your mind goes, it made me think of a dentist. One of those dentist commercials.
Well, that's the whole point. It can be just about anything. Guys pulling fifth wheel trailers. It's whatever pops into your head.
All right, I got it.
Okay. So remember, a Modeler's Life podcast is considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10
dentists.
Oh, you got to do better than that.
Better than that?
Well, this is a big road trip coming up.
All right.
This is you could go with guys lost on the highway, slow guys in the right hand lane,
Oh, I like that one.
and guys that are going through that are getting 3 miles to the gallon.
Oh Lord, I hope we get more than that.
Guys that don't do this. I do not want to see that. Okay. The only way that this is it. The only way the AML is going to be associated with ScaleTrains on this project going forward is I do not want to see a photo of you being one of those guys that pulls into a gas station and bangs the top of the fifth wheel into the low hanging
Oh
roof
Lord.
over the gas pumps.
Oh Lord, I hope not.
Every summer there's at least a half a dozen pictures of some guy. Because if you pull into the old stations, the roofs aren't high enough.
Yep. Yeah, we usually do truck stops just to be safe.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, this is it, buddy.
All right.
This is your third try. So remember, a Modeler's Life podcast is considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10
guys who are on the side of the road changing a flat tire.
And now it's time for the New Jersey Transit Elevator Escalator Report. Take it away, Dave.
Good morning, everybody. I got the first one on the list here today is the Rawway eastbound elevator. That's out for a DCA test. Elizabeth westbound is still out for the door replacement we talked about last week. North Penn escalator number 11 is out for a step chain replacement. He's due back end of the week this week. And North Broad Street number 2 should be reset this morning with the vendor on site today.
It's another Lincoln Homer.
We're going to ask you and thank you for complying with our face covering policies at all times during our flight. Flight attendants, cross deck doors and verify.